Madame la Présidente, chers collègues, permettez-moi d'abord de placer notre débat dans son contexte. Ce budget a été présenté dans un horizon international et régional très incertain, tensions géopolitiques, inflation importée, marché volatile qui commandent prudence et discernement. Je veux saluer les efforts déployés par l'honorable Premier ministre et les membres du gouvernement pour répondre à ces défis et reconnaître les mesures positives contenues dans l'énoncé budgétaire. Mais je m'exprime aujourd'hui au nom de celles et ceux que nous représentons, en particulier nos aînés, nos travailleurs, nos familles modestes et nos enfants. Je remercie le Premier ministre d'avoir suspendu ce matin le means testing. Cela apporte un certain soulagement et merci d'avoir écouté la voix du peuple. Depuis vendredi, beaucoup s'interrogent sur les pensions. Aurai-je ma retraite demain ou pas? Le flou, la communication approximative et les informations contradictoires créent inquiétude et fragilisent la cohésion sociale. Nos aînés qui ont construit le pays méritent sécurité, dignité et tranquillité. Les experts éclairent, mais ne doivent pas remplacer la délibération démocratique ni étouffer la voix des retraités, élus locaux, syndicats, associations et professionnels. Je demande au Premier ministre l'ouverture d'un large processus de consultation transparent et inclusif impliquant Parlement, représentants des retraités et acteurs locaux. Au-delà des inquiétudes, Madame la Présidente, il convient de reconnaître les éléments positifs de ce budget et d'exiger qu'il soit approfondi et protégé. Sur le plan social, la proposition d'un congé maternité d'1 an est une mesure ambitieuse et humaniste. J'y adhère, mais elle doit être accompagnée de garde-fous. Il faut introduire des protections légales contre le licenciement discriminatoire, des incitations pour les employeurs qui soutiennent leurs employés et des mécanismes de réintégration garantissant que la femme retrouve son poste. Sans ces protections, la mesure risque d'être détournée, de créer des injustices nouvelles. Concernant la protection sociale, j'accueille favorablement l'intention de réformer pour plus d'équité, mais je réitère que la transition doit être progressive, transparente et universelle dans son objectif de protection des plus vulnérables. Dans l'éducation, je salue l'investissement pour le Foundation Programme, grades 7 et 9, et le financement du Basic Literacy and Numeracy Programme pour grades 1 et 2. Les ressources allouées aux manuels, au matériel pédagogique et au centre MITD multisectoriel sont indispensables. La correction précoce des lacunes est la clé pour réduire le décrochage et améliorer la productivité future de notre pays. En matière d'éducation spécialisée saine, que j'ai soulevée à maintes reprises dans cette auguste Assemblée, l'augmentation du budget de 562 millions à 619 millions de roupies, la création d'unités d'intervention précoce, le recrutement de thérapeutes spécialisés et la modernisation des infrastructures sont des mesures fortes pour une société plus inclusive. Il faudra, Madame la Présidente, cependant veiller à un déploiement régional équilibré et à la formation continue des personnels pour garantir un service de qualité dans toutes nos régions. Pour le logement, où mon collègue Shakil Mohamed se donne corps et âme, oui, c'est l'un de mes préférés d'ailleurs, je reconnais des avancées encourageantes puisqu'ils mettent beaucoup pour la circonscription numéro 4. Mais nous attendons des calendriers, Monsieur le ministre, précis, des indicateurs de performance et des moyens humains et financiers constants. La santé, il y a un investissement massif. Osons espérer une expérience qualitative pour les 9 millions de personnes qui s'y rendent annuellement. L'élargissement du rôle de la STC pour importer des produits de première nécessité est une piste stratégique pour casser les monopoles et créer de la concurrence saine. Je propose que le gouvernement étudie sérieusement la possibilité de points de vente publics ou de marchés pilotés par la STC pour offrir des prix stabilisés et protéger le pouvoir d'achat des ménages. Sur la fiscalité, j'apprécie qu'il n'y ait pas d'augmentation générale de la TVA. Toutefois, je plaide pour une réflexion sur un taux différencié ciblant les biens de luxe. Ceux qui vivent dans l'opulence doivent contribuer davantage à l'effort national. L'équité fiscale est un levier essentiel de la redistribution des richesses. Enfin, l'initiative de lutter contre le gaspillage par un comité présidé par le Premier ministre est à encourager. Le gaspillage, Madame la Présidente, freine l'action publique et dilapide des ressources qui pourraient financer la production locale, l'éducation ou la protection sociale. J'appelle des audits réguliers à la mise en place d'indicateurs et à la publication transparente des résultats. Cependant, il y a des sujets que j'aurais souhaité voir traités plus largement. Un renforcement des moyens de là-dessous pour combattre le trafic de drogue, plus de méritocratie dans les recrutements publics, 3 lots 123, mettre fin aux pratiques opaques et une stratégie claire de soutien à la production locale pour réduire notre dépendance aux importations. Face à l'automatisation et à l'essor de l'intelligence artificielle, nous devons bâtir une stratégie d'emploi qui protège les travailleurs, favorise la réqualification et soutienne l'innovation locale plutôt que d'exposer nos citoyens à la précarité. L'IA comporte des dangers également. Je tiens à saluer avec gratitude plusieurs mesures clés annoncées dans le budget qui témoignent d'une vision claire pour moderniser notre économie et protéger notre avenir. Pour les start-ups et les PME, je salue le Startup Act, la plateforme SME Mauritius unique et le SME Bill promettant de simplifier l'accès aux aides, financements et informations pour nos petites et moyennes entreprises. Concernant l'économie bleue, Madame la Présidente, j'approuve la création d'un International Center for Ocean Studies, l'intégration des recherches marines, le cadre pour l'hydrographie et l'incubateur en technologie océanique. Les soutiens à la pêche et à l'aquaculture et les mesures essentielles pour la sécurité alimentaire et la croissance bleue. Sur l'investissement et le marché du travail, oui, pour la réforme du climat des affaires, Business Facilitation Bill, revue des permis, l'usage de chatbox, IA pour faciliter les démarches et la politique migratoire visant à attirer des talents. La plateforme e-diaspora et l'intégration des micro-certifications au cadre national renforçant aussi notre capital humain. Chers collègues, la démocratie n'est pas une boîte où l'on confie les solutions à quelques experts ou des ressorts des documents incompréhensibles. La démocratie, c'est le débat, la confrontation d'idées, la prise en compte des vécus et la responsabilité partagée. Nous devons refuser la culture du secret et de l'expertise désincarnée. Les experts doivent être outillés pour dialoguer avec la population et rendre compte de leurs propositions devant le Parlement. Je demande au gouvernement de ne pas aller de l'avant avec l'amendement à la page 54 concernant le Public Gathering Act. Nous avons toujours prôné la liberté d'expression. Aujourd'hui, encore plus après une décennie d'oppression et de dictature, nous ne pouvons pas accepter cela. Il n'y en a aucune nécessité et je demande de le faire enlever du budget. Je conclus en rappelant l'essentiel. Ce budget doit être un instrument de protection sociale, de relance productive et de justice. Il doit protéger nos anciens, nos travailleurs, nos enfants et les plus vulnérables. Il doit stimuler la production locale, promouvoir la méritocratie et assainir la gestion des deniers publics. Je suis prête en tant que députée et représentante à travailler avec tous ceux qui souhaitent construire des solutions justes. Nos aînés, nos familles et l'avenir de notre nation méritent que nous agissons avec courage, humilité et justice. Ne cédons ni à l'improvisation, ni à l'arrogance technocratique. Choisissons la voie du dialogue, de la clarté et de la solidarité. Merci.
Merci. Merci beaucoup. Yes, Honourable Minister, please. Thank you for respecting time. Huh? Minister, you will also, I'm sure, do your best.
I'm getting the message, Madam Speaker. Madame la Présidente, je m'adresse a priori au leader de l'opposition, l'honorable Joe Zonga, in absentia, en son absence accoutumée. Depuis 2024 jusqu'à ce jour, il n'a fait que critiquer à chaque fois qu'il s'est adressé à cette auguste assemblée. S'il croit que, parce qu'il est le leader de l'opposition, il ne doit que critiquer, c'est triste à constater. Parce que votre devoir comme leader de l'opposition est d'être sincère envers vous-même, monsieur, et d'être sincère.
Minister, you address to me. Don't address to him.
Madame Speaker,
Talk about him, but not to him. Okay?
son devoir est surtout de prendre la voie de vérité et de dire la vérité. Madame la Présidente, nous avons tous un devoir à promouvoir la paix, la cohésion et la compréhension avec sincérité. Et nous avons tous un devoir solennel à contribuer à bâtir un pays et une nation meilleure. Car au-delà de nos couleurs et différences politiques, nous avons tous un devoir commun, servir notre pays et améliorer les quotidiens de nos concitoyens. En tant que législateurs, nous portons également une responsabilité particulière, défendre l'état de droit, renforcer la confiance de nos institutions et veiller à ce que les ressources publiques soient gérées avec intégrité, transparence, responsabilité et redevabilité. Comme le rappelle un principe fondamental du droit public, l'exercice du pouvoir n'est légitime que lorsqu'il est exercé dans l'intérêt général. Madame la Présidente, nous ne pouvons pas résoudre les problèmes de demain avec les excuses d'hier. C'est précisément la philosophie de ce gouvernement. Nous ne sommes pas ici pour trouver des excuses. Nous avons le devoir de dire la vérité. Nous sommes ici pour dire la vérité. Nous sommes ici pour trouver des solutions responsables. Et nous avons abordé cette tâche avec détermination, humilité et un profond sens du devoir, en tant que gouvernement responsable. Madame la Présidente, nous savons tous que reconstruire n'est jamais facile. Il est plus difficile de construire lorsque les fondations sont affaiblies. Il est plus difficile de rétablir l'équilibre lorsque le déséquilibre s'accumule sur de nombreuses années. Nous avons hérité d'un contexte national et international difficile. L'économie mondiale demeure marquée par les tensions géopolitiques, les perturbations des chaînes d'approvisionnement et les pressions inflationnistes. Et ceux qui disent le contraire, je peux cause mentir. Ils font de la démagogie en mettant en otage l'avenir de notre peuple et de notre nation. Pourtant, nous avons choisi de faire face à ces défis avec responsabilité, parce que gouverner ne consiste pas à commenter les difficultés. Gouverner, c'est les confronter. Aujourd'hui, nous devons reconstruire. Nous devons nous préparer pour l'avenir. Et cela demande du courage, de la discipline et une vision à long terme. Le budget 2026-2027, présenté par le ministre des Finances, est preuve de courage et de la discipline, avec une vision claire pour reconstruire l'avenir de notre peuple, de notre nation. Comme l'a si bien dit Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, personne ne devient grand avec un esprit étriqué. Et personne ne peut se relever avec un esprit brisé. Aujourd'hui, malgré les difficultés, nous choisissons de nous relever et de voir grand pour notre pays. Madame la Présidente, la vérité. La vérité, c'est que nous avons hérité d'un pays profondément affaibli. En 2014, quand le MSM est venu au pouvoir, les dettes extérieures se tournaient autour de 60%. Et en 2024, quand nous avons pris la responsabilité de gouverner notre pays, les dettes extérieures sont arrivées à plus de 90% du PIB. Des finances publiques mises à rude épreuve, avec des Alibaba au pouvoir, des institutions qui avaient perdu de leur crédibilité. Madame la Présidente, nous disposons d'une liste d'au moins 25 grandes affaires de corruption de haut niveau, de mauvaise gestion graves dans plusieurs institutions et entités publiques pendant le règne du MSM. Souvenez-vous des Mauritius sous la direction du Blue-Eyed Boy du MSM, Monsieur Sattar Hadji Abdullah. Ils ont vendu 5 avions valant 3,7 milliards de roupies pour seulement 317 millions de roupies. Madame la Présidente, ils étaient capables de tout. Aucun secteur n'illustre plus nettement la décadence que ce pays a héritée que nos secteurs financiers et bancaires. La décennie jusqu'en 2024 a été, à tout point de vue, la période la plus éprouvante pour l'intégrité du secteur financier dans l'histoire moderne des Maurice. Période durant laquelle Maurice a été placé en février 2020 sur la liste grise du Financial Action Task Force, du FATF. L'événement déterminant de cette période fut l'effondrement du groupe BAI en 2015 et l'affaire Sobrino en 2017, qui ont révélé une défaillance systémique et préoccupante de nos institutions régulateurs. Madame la Présidente, la SBM, autrefois fierté de notre système bancaire, a été mise à genoux par des prêts imprudents et des déductions catastrophiques. La banque ayant annulé environ pas moins de 14,34 milliards de roupies en prêts toxiques entre 2014 et 2024, dont environ 9 milliards concentrés sur 3 emprunteurs liés à l'étranger seuls, sans garantie adéquate. Madame la Présidente, l'affaire Silverbank demeure sans doute l'épisode le plus troublant de cette période. Silverbank a été placé sous tutelle en février 2024 et détenait environ 7,6 milliards de roupies en prêts non performants, dont 3,55 milliards de roupies constitués de garanties fictives. D'importants dépôts publics étaient directement mis en danger. À ce jour, les efforts de redressement n'ont rapporté qu'une petite fraction de ce qui a été perdu. Nous avons également la Mobank. Depuis 2015, a accumulé des pertes, lui laissant un capital propre négatif proche de 3 milliards de roupies. La Mauritius Investment Corporation, filiale de la Banque des Maurice, conçue comme un véhicule souverain, est devenue ce que beaucoup ont justement appelé plan sablier, un mécanisme d'impression des monnaies pour renflouer les entités politiquement liées proches du gouvernement MSM, avec des milliards de roupies déboursés avec peu de transparence, contribuant directement à la dépréciation de plus de 40% de notre roupie et à l'inflation qui a affecté chaque foyer mauricien. Pravin Jagnat et le MSM avaient bien dit, Madame la Présidente, Pravin Jagnat et le MSM avaient bien dit, ensemble, tout possible. À Alibaba et ses voleurs, nous avons ceci à dire, ensemble, je te connais. Nous demandons la redevabilité à tous ceux qui ont mis en péril l'avenir de notre pays. Madame la Présidente, grâce à des mesures audacieuses et correctives prises par ce gouvernement, le bilan des secteurs financiers et bancaires sont aujourd'hui plus solides et la confiance se rétablit. Nos réserves de devises s'élèvent à plus de 10 milliards de dollars américains. La SBM est rétablie. La Mobank se rétablira. Et M. Richesse travaille pour reprendre son envol. Madam Speaker, Warren Buffett says, someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. Indeed, in 2014, the MSM was able to enjoy all the benefits of a stable economy. A strong reserve at the Bank of Mauritius, external debts about 60% of the GDP, institutional stability, and the pillars of our economy with real prospects of growth. In fact, well before 2014, under the leadership of the Prime Minister, Navin Ramgoolam, a leader with a clear vision, a body was set up to democratize the economy of our country. Maurice Île Durable was set up with a mandate to replace fossil fuel by sustainable, renewable green energy and addressing environmental protection issues. The Equal Opportunities Commission was set up. The Mackay Report was implemented, and strategic plans were set up to modernize maritime, air, and land transports with port developments, purchase of airplanes for Air Mauritius, and the Metro Léger project, respectively. Madam Speaker, this is only a few concrete examples to remind us, to remind the House, and to remind the people of our country. The MSM from 2014 enjoyed the shades of the trees of the Labour government planted. In 10 years, from 2014 to 2024, I call upon Pravin Jagnnath with his Savat Dodo. I call upon the suddenly vociferous Mahin Siratan with his demagogies. And I also invite the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Joe Lejongar, to come forward and state with evidence in what social, political, and economic state the MSM left our country in 2024. Today, we must plant again. We are duty-bound as a responsible government to clear the land away with all the mess left by the MSM. Prepare the soil again and sow the seeds with the legitimate expectation that the people of our country will once again enjoy the shade. Madam Speaker, when a nation reaches a turning point, leadership is not tested by the popularity of its decisions. Leadership is tested by the courage to confront realities. Leadership is tested by the courage to take bold decisions. And leadership is tested by the courage to stand strong against adversities. To the Leader of the House, in the words of Henley, I have this to say, and I quote, "Out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced, nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my heart is bloody, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." Invictus, William Ernest Henley. Madam Speaker, the reality is that productivity must improve. The reality is that competitiveness must be strengthened. The reality is that sustainable growth requires discipline, innovation, and good governance. This budget demonstrates a willingness to embrace new thinking. We are moving away from short-termism. We are moving away towards strategic planning, towards evidence-based policymaking, and we are moving towards a public service which is more efficient, transparent, accountable, agile, and resilient. Madam Speaker, our public officers have stood at the forefront of every national challenge and every national achievement. They have helped build modern institutions, delivered essential services, supported economic development, and safeguarded social cohesion. Their professionalism, resilience, and dedication constitute one of the greatest strengths of our republic. Montesquieu taught us that public institutions endure when those entrusted with authority exercise it with virtue and restraint. Public service is therefore not merely an occupation, it is a moral responsibility. It is precisely for this reason that this government has embarked on an ambitious program of public service and administrative reforms, built around the pillars of administrative reform: innovation, capacity building, digitalization, public service policies, and service delivery excellence. This framework seeks to position Mauritius among the leading public administrations. The establishment of reforms and innovation units across ministries and departments demonstrate this government's determination to institutionalize innovation and foster a culture of continuous improvement throughout government. Likewise, the forthcoming public sector reforms bill will strengthen accountability, transparency, and good governance within the public sector. Madam Speaker, equally important is our commitment to the well-being of public officers. A high-performing public service requires healthy, motivated, and resilient employees. We shall, therefore, continue strengthening occupational safety, workplace wellness, and mental health support mechanisms across government. And this budget has made provisions to increase the number of safety and health officers. Madam Speaker, Sri Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, has said, and I quote, "Public service is the biggest test of good governance. Only a person who works continuously with humility, dedication, and dutifulness earns public trust." As Mauritius aspires to become a high-income, knowledge-based, and innovation-driven economy, our public service must continue to evolve. Public officers must embrace lifelong learning, digital literacy, critical thinking, and adaptability. They must be prepared not only to respond to change, but also to anticipate it and lead it. This budget has made provision to train 5,000 public officers in digital transformation. Madam Speaker, ministries and departments are being encouraged to minimize delays in filling vacancies. To that end, the e-human resource management system has already been implemented by my ministry. And this enables the Human Resource Department to function efficiently with updated data. My ministry has also embarked on the modernization and scaling up of e-scheme of service platform, which will significantly reduce processing time, improve coordination, enhance accuracy, and strengthen management of schemes of service. Progress has also been made in modernizing performance management through the development of an electric performance management system, a free digital platform with the technical assistance from the Government of India that will enable real-time monitoring of performance of public officers, data-driven assessments, and strengthened accountability across ministries and departments. However, Madam Speaker, the true measure of a modern public service is not only the sophistication of its technology, but its ability to improve the lives of its people. Digital transformation must therefore be accompanied by human transformation. As we introduce new technologies and digital services, we must ensure that no Mauritian is left behind. The elderly, persons with disabilities, those living in remote regions, vulnerable families, and citizens with limited digital access must continue to receive equitable, accessible, and quality public services. The budget of 2026-2027 addresses each and every one of these aspects. Rousseau reminded us the legitimacy of public institutions rests upon their commitment to the general will. The future of the Republic of Mauritius will not be built by technology alone. It will be built by skilled, ethical, and committed public officers who use technology as a tool to serve people better and who remain steadfast in their mission of advancing the public good. It is in that spirit that the Atal Bihari Vajpayee Institute of Public Service and Innovation has been established by this government. Ours is a center of excellence to prepare a new generation of public officers equipped with the knowledge, skills, and leadership capabilities required for the future, and to provide each and every public officer with the opportunity to develop a career path. Mauritius enjoys a well-earned reputation for good governance and public sector excellence. Indeed, Mauritius is now classed first in Africa by the internationally recognized Review of Chandler's Good Governance Index of year 2025-2026. Madam Speaker, certain voices have claimed that this government is not encouraging allowances left, right, and center. Indeed, this government believes in sustainability and empowerment rather than promoting reliability and allowance-dependent citizens. Confucius said, "Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime." The provisions in 2025-2026 budget, together with those in 2026 and 2027 budget, reflect this government's continued determination to create employment and sustain recruitment in the public services, in the public service, while ensuring the timely filling of vacancies despite ongoing economic pressures and competing national priorities. In the budget of 2025-2026, we have reduced unemployment to 5.7%. We have created over 6,000 jobs in the public sector alone. Employment is more than just an emolument at the end of the month. Madam Speaker, it is a symbol of self-respect and dignity, a sense of belonging and an identity of a person who is employed. This is the vision of this government. In the budget of 2026-2027, funds have been provided for filling again over 6,780 posts. Almost another 7,000 families will be empowered through employment with dignity and self-respect. Madam Speaker, trust and confidence matter. Trust is an economic asset. Trust is a social asset. Trust is a democratic asset. When citizens trust institutions, society prospers. When investors trust institutions, economy grows. While confidence cannot be decreed, confidence must be earned day after day, decision after decision, reform after reform. Investors look at the strength of the legal framework. Investors know that economies prosper when rules are predictable, contracts are respected, and institutions inspire trust and confidence. History teaches us a simple lesson. There can be no lasting prosperity without legal certainty. It is necessary to underline that the Attorney General's office has already prepared 31 bills, which are now 31 acts of parliament. Madam Speaker, that is well over 1 act of parliament every month from December 2024. Madam Speaker, no more bad economics. Our objective is simple: to create an ecosystem where innovation flourishes, where young people transform ideas into enterprises, where public institutions become more efficient, transparent and accountable, and where technology serves people. We have chosen the path of responsibility. Indeed, Winston Churchill said, the price of greatness is responsibility. We stand firmly with the leader of the House, our Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, united as one government, one responsible government. Madame la Présidente, nos amis de l'opposition nous reposent parfois de prendre des décisions difficiles. Mais les décisions difficiles sont souvent celles qui permettent d'éviter des crises plus graves demain. Nous ne sommes pas des vendeurs de rêves. Et nous ne nous attelons surtout pas à l'imprimerie, à reproduire des gros billets pour des petits copains et les miettes pour le peuple. Nous ne recourons pas aux illusions, à la création d'argent artificiel, ni à des traitements superficiels pour des blessures profondes. Notre gouvernement a une vision claire, ainsi de l'orientation. Madame la Présidente, ce budget ne prétend pas résoudre les problèmes du jour au lendemain. Mais ce budget apporte des réponses concrètes. Il soutient les familles, il protège les plus vulnérables, il encourage l'investissement, il crée les conditions de la croissance, il renforce la confiance. Et surtout, il prépare l'avenir. Les défis sont réels, Madame la Présidente. Personne ne le nie. Pourtant, notre pays retrouve un sens clair de direction. Il retrouve sa crédibilité, il retrouve sa stabilité. Et notre pays retrouve l'espoir. Madame la Présidente, dans les tribunaux, nous apprenons très tôt qu'il ne suffit pas d'avoir raison. Il faut également avoir le courage d'agir conformément à ce qui est juste. Il en va de même en matière de gouvernance. Ce budget est avant tout un choix de responsabilité, un choix de justice entre les générations, un choix de prudence dans la gestion des finances publiques et un choix de confiance dans l'avenir de notre République. Je terminerai avec ces paroles de Mahatma Gandhi. L'avenir dépend de ce que vous faites aujourd'hui. Cité par le Premier ministre et ministre des Finances en prélude de son budget le 26, le 27. Vive notre République en paix, justice et liberté. Madame la Présidente, je vous remercie.
Honorable Nassingen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the floor. I don't have a good voice because I'm suffering a bit. Well, Madame la Présidente, il ne faut pas noyer le poisson. Je vais directement au but because it is important for our people, especially for our vulnerable people, to know that with the freezing of the ministers, we should not forget that so many good things are being done to the vulnerable people. Because first and foremost, the reform of the pension was meant to protect the vulnerable people. And it is sad to note that the chief whip, the whip of the opposition was alluding that we should not touch the pension, the BRP. I know his party, the PMSD, is not like the Labour Party. We have always been inspired, starting with Sir Sivsagar Ramulam, by Fabian socialism, and our actual Prime Minister himself is imbued with these principles of Fabian socialism. So it was important, we know fully well, that the pension scheme that we had for so many years, and this is not only a debate that we are having now, even before independence and after independence, if you read so many reports, even from the United Nations, they have been analyzing this very sort of sensitive issue regarding the pension. So today, what has to go on record, we did the reform amendments in the first year, and we listened to people, the Prime Minister listened to people, and this year, I myself, you know, many among the members of the executive today, we do criticize, but within existing fora, within the existing structures, we have been discussing, as I mentioned before, c'est à travers les discussions, les chocs des idées, que va jaillir la lumière. And I fully appreciate that this year we had ample time to discuss in the parliamentarian caucus and other fora about the reforms. And I have to say, if it is a confession, I don't know, that I've been a supporter of targeting. It is very important. Let me give you an example. It is not possible, Madam Speaker, that somebody who is working, earning 100,000 rupees, he should benefit the 14 or 15,000 rupees just like other vulnerable people. This is simply unsustainable and impossible to continue. Well, it may be debatable. Now, I hear also that some people are criticizing the experts. No, we need experts. And these experts, according to me, when they have submitted the report, I had the opportunity to discuss. They are seasoned actuarial scientists. I discussed with them personally, and they gave a report in a bona fide manner. Then it is up for we politicians to strike a balance and to hear the people. This is the difference, Madam Speaker, difference between an emperor, the approach of an emperor, and the approach of a statesman. And this morning, I myself, I sent messages to the Prime Minister, and many of my colleagues, ministers, junior ministers, and other MPs, we listen to people. Even when we go to social functions, I was attending a wedding of a close friend, the Prime Minister was there, senior ministers like Minister Boulel was there. We don't just go to social functions to enjoy. We are still working, brainstorming, discussing. And I was discussing with Honorable Boulel. And I told the Prime Minister that when I also listen to trade unionists, take Mr. Gopi, take Mr. Benidin, 90%, Madam Speaker, of the trade unionists, they agreed on Friday night and on Saturday that this is a very good budget. I won't say it's a perfect budget. They agreed that it is a good budget. But also, unlike some of the MPs who quickly understand some of the issues, some of the problems of means test, as I mentioned, the means test was used in the past. It was abolished, then put on board again. This is the reality. There are some problems, systemic problems within the means test. And famous economists have explained what are the problems because, let me take one example. People in the informal sector, they may earn more than doctors, more than professors, more than engineers. So until and unless, this is where we have to bring reforms, where the MRA has to do a job, they have to be assigned a job, and bring rectification. And also I would like to make an appeal. I think it's very important, an appeal to both the Prime Minister, who is also the Minister of Finance, and the Junior Minister of Finance. I think it is very important, as I always mention, to sensitize people and also to explain people. We have on radio, on television, to bring what I would say financial literacy. Because some people, they don't understand. And that is why people, like some members, I cannot generalize, some members of the opposition, they are expert in demagogy. And they will try to manipulate people because some people don't understand certain basic economic concepts. It is good that some economists, some of my friends who are more versed than me in economics, they are trying to explain, but it is not enough. And I think for the future, it will be important to, on radio and television, to educate people on some economic concepts. Very, very important. Now, when it comes to, so we have been able to address this issue, and with the bold decision of the Prime Minister to listen to ministers, senior ministers, but also to MPs and other junior ministers, because we have been listening to people, we have rectified. Very good, and he has to be commended for that. Now, I would like to rebut what the leader of the opposition has said. Normally, even as a social activist, I've always been exercising a sort of balance, and even when I joined politics, I've been exercising a sense of balance, not to, and never hit people below the belt. But listening to the leader of the opposition, I think he used a very provoking term, voler à pension. Well, come on. I think in life, you see, for me, every day, I have to look myself in the mirror. Very important. Not because I want to know whether I'm smart or if you are a lady, not because you want to see if you are beautiful. Yes, you are beautiful. But your internal beauty is important. And whether now I ask the leader of the opposition, even if he's not here, whether when looking collectively, the MSM people, to look themselves in the mirror, whether they can say what they have been saying, whether we are voleurs de pension. Yes, we've tried to reform, maybe in a rush, yes, I confess, at times, because we want to save the country. That's why we are doing it. But let me remind them, at times I think people have got short memory. Will the leader of the opposition tell us who has been ripping off the Bank of Mauritius? Who has been ripping off Silver Bank, putting pressure on many institutions to place their money in Silver Bank? Who has been ripping off Air Mauritius, qui était un bijou de la nation? I can go on and on. And, Madam Speaker, at a time when we were suffering, we were trembling like a leaf during COVID, what people were doing. Not only, you know the difference between robbing and looting? Looting when there is social unrest, when there is a disorder. You take advantage and you loot the country. And this is what they have been doing, these people. They have been looting the country. And now they come and say, we are voleurs à pension. No, we are bona fide people. We are genuine. We've tried to reform, yes. Possibly we made some mistakes, yes. Nothing wrong with it. So at the end of the day, our main objective is to protect the poor people. I joined the Labour Party because, as I mentioned, I will explain in a few minutes what is Fabian socialism. I joined the Labour Party. First time I met the Prime Minister, many years back, when he mentioned to me, I want to democratize the economy. This is what he said. And this is when I was convinced that I know the history of the Labour Party. Right from 1936 onwards, I know, and me also, I've always been a moderate socialist. And in this alliance, most of the partners, they believe in socialism. And we believe in Fabian socialism. So people who have been looting the country, ripping up the country, now they want to give us, teach us lessons. No way. We cannot accept this. So this budget, Madam Speaker, you will see on one hand, it is a budget of responsibility. It is a budget of equilibrium, but also it is a budget of innovation. And when it comes to, I like to in a way, to explain basic things. You know, when you come to Fabian socialism, this is a political and economic philosophy developed by the Fabian Society in Britain during the late 19th century. Unlike revolutionary socialism, we've got some friends who are revolutionary socialists, but in the Labour Party we are more moderate socialists. And Fabianism, you see, advocates gradual reforms rather than radical change. And this is what we are trying to do. We are trying to bring reforms in a gradual manner, and this is important. And what does it do, Fabian socialism? It seeks also to combine, we are keeping a market economy, we are not a communist. Sir Sivsagar has never been a communist, the actual Prime Minister is not a communist, but we try to strike that balance. And also, Fabian socialism, where the Labour Party has always been seeking inspiration, is to give more social protection. And now we are giving more social protection to the vulnerable people. And also, what we've seen in the budget, I'm going to comment if I have time, public investment in education. And this is what the Minister of Finance has done. More investment in health. This is why Honorable Bechu will have the golden opportunity to recruit around 2,000 paramedics and people in the medical field. You know, for so many years, and I'm going to also state that today, I've always been saying that the Public Service Commission will have, in some circumstances, in some instances, they have to lower their qualifications. Because why? Last time I visited a private clinic, more than 90% of the nurses come from foreign countries. And I've got friends who have been working in UK. They've got only 2 credits. 2 credits, and they have become professors in reputable universities. So we are wasting human resource. And this is where I'm sure Mr. Honorable Bechu, who is more socialist than me, will take that into consideration and discuss with the members of the Public Service Commission, of course, with the discussion with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Public Service, because we have to do certain things to protect the poor people. And believe me, for so many years, for 10 years more, one Mr. Jagatpal has done nothing in terms of training. Now he comes and brag, he comes and talk. When he was leaving the ministry, what Honorable Bechu told me, and what I understand from my friends from the Ministry of Health, they owe more than 2.3 or 2.4 billion of rupees. This is not possible, Madam Speaker. But this is what, yeah, I'm sorry, just to make a conclusion, if you allow me, Madam Speaker.
Give you 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. So you will see, Madam Speaker, that this is a responsible budget. It is geared towards innovation. For example, we are creating an SEZ in Contredor. This is very important. We are going to give more opportunities, more money to my good colleague and friend, the Minister of Tertiary Education, to boost up tertiary education. A better budget has been given to the Minister of Education also. So you see, it's not only being responsible, fiscal responsibility, but at the same time, we are trying to be innovative. And believe me, the population will see in 1-2 years' time what the measures we are taking will bear the fruits. So thank you, Madam Speaker, for your attention.
I'm so sorry. It's always very interesting, but there are 7 more speakers to go. So I'm sure you understand. Okay. Now I will have Honorable Bijan. Yes. Try and keep the time.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand in this House today not simply to voice out in support of the national budget, but to set out on the basis of evidence rather than enthusiasm why I believe it a disciplined and forward-looking budget this government has presented to this Assembly. This budget deserves support because it doesn't evade the truth. It doesn't flatter the country with illusions. Unlike previous years, it does not postpone difficult decisions for another generation. It confronts high debt, a tight fiscal space, climate risk, demographic pressure, and global uncertainty with a combination of discipline, reform, and targeted investment. Madam Speaker, when history looks back at this budget, I believe it will see one of the most coherent budgets Mauritius has had in recent years. Not because it promises everything to everyone, but because it gets the balance right. It understands that a modern state must be both responsible and compassionate, both reformist and protective, both fiscally prudent and socially just. The four principles set out in the budget speech by the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, responsabilité, solidarité, efficacité économique et justice sociale, are not only decorative language, they are reflected in the numbers, in the allocations, and in the reforms. Madam Speaker, before we discuss the measures, let us begin with the facts. In 2025, unemployment declined from 6% to 5.7%. Inflation fell to 3.7% after much higher averages in previous years under the MSM. Gross official foreign currency reserves reached 10.3 billion USD. Tourist arrivals exceeded 1.4 million, and tourist earnings reached 103 billion rupees. ICT and financial services continued to expand, and GDP grew by 3.2%. These are not abstract statistics. They show a country that is regaining stability and confidence, step by step in a difficult international environment. Madam Speaker, let us underline one very important point. Even in this tight budgetary context, government has chosen not to increase VAT. That decision matters. Instead of a broad-based tax increase on every household, the budget takes a more targeted route, higher taxation on very high incomes, on tobacco, hard liquor, sugary products, and on plastic bottles, while keeping the VAT rate unchanged. That is a more intelligent and more socially balanced approach. It protects purchasing power more carefully while still strengthening the revenue side. Madam Speaker, a good budget is not only about how it collects revenue, it is also about where it chooses to invest. On that score, this budget is strategically ambitious. It commits Mauritius to a future-ready economy through 7 pillars, and that vision is backed by numbers. Over the next financial year, 50,000 Mauritians will be trained or enabled in practical AI use. This is not a country waiting passively for the AI revolution. This is a country preparing its people to compete in it. And why is that so important? Madam Speaker, because countries that will succeed in the next decade will not be those that merely consume advanced technologies. They will be those that spread new skills across the workforce, upgrade teaching, improve quality of public services, and raise productivity in firms and administration. This budget AI architecture is therefore not a gadget project. It is an employability project, a competitiveness project, and a state modernization project. It is about new skills, better jobs, stronger public services, and a Mauritius ready for the AI economy. Madam Speaker, the healthcare package deserves particular support. Government is not merely spending more, it is spending with structure. It is recruiting staff, launching a visiting doctor scheme, investing 1.5 billion rupees to modernize and expand health infrastructure, strengthening prevention, re-engineering diabetes treatment, and building new diagnostic and specialized treatment capacity. This House should recognize the significance of that choice. In a society facing demographic change and rising non-communicable diseases, a budget that strengthens healthcare capacity is not only compassionate, it is economically wise. A country that recruits more staff, upgrades laboratories and hospitals, and builds a system around prevention and outcomes cannot be accused of indifference. It is investing in well-being, productivity, and national resilience. Madam Speaker, same can be said of water security, food security and energy security. The budget provides funds to assist some 11,000 households with water storage facilities and 6.4 billion rupees over the next 3 years to strengthen catchment and delivery infrastructure. It launches the 25 by 35 Food Security Initiative with the clear aim of producing of at least 25% of our food requirements by 2035 with less dependence on imported inputs. And it pushes the energy transition forward through a 220 megawatt solar plus storage initiative, a stronger net metering and higher feed-in tariff and rooftop solar grants up to 75,000 rupees to a household. Madam Speaker, while economic growth, fiscal consolidation, and social development remain key priorities of this budget, we must equally recognize that sustainable development cannot take place without law and order. No nation can prosper if its citizens do not feel safe in their homes, safe in their communities, and confident that the rule of law is being upheld. As a responsible member of Parliament of constituency number 6, I wish to draw the attention of this House to a growing concern expressed by many of my constituents. Over the past months, constituency number 6 has witnessed several criminal incidents, including reported cases of larceny, other offences which have caused anxiety among residents and business operators. Many families, particularly the elderly, have been voicing concern since more than 10 years regarding illicit-related activities and other forms of delinquency which threaten the peace and harmony that have long characterized our region. Madam Speaker, the challenge before us is not merely one of policing. It is a challenge of protecting our social fabric. In the specific context of constituency number 6, I strongly advocate for the strengthening of police capabilities at Goodlands Police Station, Granville Police Station, and Grand Bay Police Station, among others. These police stations serve rapidly growing residential areas, commercial centers, and major tourism zones, which attract thousands of visitors daily. The complexity of a modern criminal activities requires not only additional manpower, but also specialized capabilities. The northern region is one of the country's principal tourism hubs and economic engines. Grand Bay alone contributes significantly to national economic activity through tourism, hospitality, retail trade, and investment. Madam Speaker, a caring government is not only one that builds schools, hospitals, and houses. A caring government is also one that protects its citizens from criminality, violence, and illicit activities. The principles of social justice and economic efficiency which underpin this budget cannot be achieved without public security. When a young person is protected from the scourge of drug, that is social justice. When a family can sleep peacefully in its home without fear, that is called social justice. When businesses can operate in a secure environment and create jobs with confidence, that is economic efficiency. When our communities remain safe and united, that is responsible governance. Madam Speaker, another proposal I have is that I urge all colleague ministers to use innovative way of doing projects, for example, to use the PPP Act, Public-Private Partnership, to use Build Operated Transfer, BOT, to streamline processes that are causing hurdles to private sectors or the development of the country. We should make sure that these processes are, of course, transparent, legal, but be made in a faster way. Be it any permit, especially work and occupational permits, because companies are suffering right now. BOT will help ministries who are having difficulties in allocation of budget where projects can be financed, and of course, repayment method should be agreed between both parties. Be it any project, medical warehouse, roads, building new schools, etc. Madam Speaker, we should recognize that during the tenure of Labour Party government between 2005 and 2014, there has had projects which were earmarked in that direction. I will urge colleague ministers to consider these kind of strategies rather than fully be dependent in allocation of this budget. We should create, we should innovate, and we should progress together. Madam Speaker, investing in youth, shaping the citizens of tomorrow, The strength of a nation lies in the opportunities it creates for its young people. As rightly stated, a nation cannot be transformed unless its youth is transformed. It is with this conviction that government has entrusted the Ministry of Youth and Sport with the responsibility of empowering our young generation and creating pathways for their development. Madam Speaker, youth empowerment remains one of the key priorities of the government. This government firmly believes that policies affecting young people should be developed with youth, not merely for youth. Our young people are not only beneficiaries of development, they are partners in building a stronger, more inclusive, and a more resilient Mauritius. Madam Speaker, while I support the budget as a whole, I would respectfully not agree to the proposed annual fee on owners of vehicles with old or personalized registration marks. In many instances, citizens have already paid a significant premium to acquire these registration marks. The ownership right was obtained through a one-off payment, and many vehicle owners considered that payment as a final consideration. Introducing an annual levy may therefore create the perception of double charging for a benefit that has already been purchased. My concern is not to rational pricing per se, but to the shift from a one-off premium concept to recurring annual levy. Madam Speaker, when one examines the budget as a whole, one sees a government that has chosen responsibility over populism, reform over complacency, and long-term national interest over short-term political convenience. Madam Speaker, so let us be clear in this House, the question is not whether the budget contains difficult choices. It does. The question is whether those choices are more responsible, more credible, and more hopeful. On the evidence before us, the answer is yes. This is not a budget for applause today and regret tomorrow. It is a budget for stability now and opportunity ahead. It repairs the public finances, it protects our society, and it prepares Mauritius for the future. So yes, Madam Speaker, this House should approve this budget. We should approve it because it is serious. We should approve it because it is measurable. We should approve it because it protects those who need protection while preparing the country for what comes next. And we should approve it because, taken as a whole, it is one of the clearest recent expressions of what a modern Mauritian budget should be. Responsible in its finances, caring in its priorities, future-ready in its investment, and just in its social purpose. I urge every honourable member of this House on this side and the other to judge it not on rhetoric, but on the rigour of what it actually contains. I support this budget without reservation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you for respecting time. Dr. Prayag.
Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for giving me the opportunity to address this August Assembly on the 2026-2027 budget debates. We must understand that last year's budget was fundamentally about laying the foundations for the reconstruction of our country. It was about confronting difficult realities, initiating structural corrections, and taking courageous decisions, which our predecessors may have preferred to postpone. And to be true, they unfortunately did on several occasions, as mentioned by many of my fellow honourable members of this House. Foundations had to be laid before any meaningful rebuilding could begin. And while many Mauritians have indeed felt the sacrifices associated with that very first phase, I believe that this budget represents the continuation of that rebuilding process. This budget demonstrates clearly that government is now positioning Mauritius towards greater investment, economic modernization, stronger connectivity, innovation, employment creation, and renewed national confidence. The harvest may still take time. Madame la Présidente, je demeure convaincu qu'à la fin de ce mandat, le pays commencera véritablement à récolter et capitaliser sur les réformes, les investissements et les orientations stratégiques mises en place depuis le premier budget de ce gouvernement. Cette transformation économique, malheureusement, ne peut se faire en une seule journée. Le progrès durable exige de la stabilité, de la persévérance, une vision à long terme et surtout le courage de prendre des décisions responsables dans l'intérêt futur du pays. Madam Speaker, one of the strongest pillars of this budget is undoubtedly the importance being given to small and medium enterprises. As we all know that SMEs are the backbone of the modern economies, by supporting SMEs, government not only supports business, it supports entrepreneurship, employment, innovation, income generation, and economic circulation within communities. It is a fact that when the SMEs grow, local businesses grow. Purchasing power improves, employment opportunities increase, and the economy becomes more dynamic and resilient. Madam Speaker, similarly, through the implementation of the SEZ, the Special Economic Zone at Côte d'Or, government is clearly demonstrating its ambition to reposition Mauritius competitively on the international market. This project carries enormous potential. It aims at increasing exports, attracting foreign investors, promoting innovation, creating jobs, and opening new opportunities for Mauritian businesses. Et surtout, cela nous permet progressivement de retourner vers une économie davantage tournée vers la production, la compétitivité et l'exportation. I personally congratulate Dr. the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance for this vision. Madam Speaker, the creation of the new M4 motorway connecting Forbach to the airport will also greatly contribute towards economic facilitation and national connectivity. And I'm surprised how the whip of the opposition says that it's a waste of money. Improved road infrastructure is not merely about transport. It directly impacts business activities, logistics, emergency services, tourism, investment, and regional development. And this reminds me very much of the Terrouge-Verdelic Road, a project that was heavily criticized by the previous regime and by many detractors at that time. Yet today has become a true gem for commuters and for national connectivity, un véritable bijou façonné par le Parti travailliste. Madam Speaker, on a further note, I wish to commend government for finally giving greater recognition to artists and cultural workers. Amending current legislation to better recognize artists as cultural workers is truly a game changer. Artists contribute enormously towards national identity, culture, creativity, tourism, and social cohesion. Yet, very often, they remain insufficiently recognized and under-promoted. I personally know a local Mauritian singer who is also a secondary school teacher who recently released a song titled World Cup Fever during this actual World Cup period of 2026. What impressed me most is that this Mauritian artist released the song in 4 mixed languages, English, French, Hindi, and Spanish. Et pourtant, je regrette sincèrement que ce type de talent mauricien ne bénéficie pas toujours de la visibilité et de la promotion qu'il mérite.
Dites-nous son nom.
Je vais vous le dire après, madame. Il s'appelle Gokulok.
Oui, oh, c'est ça. On aime la musique. Hein.
Je vais partager la musique avec vous.
Merci d'avance.
This is precisely why the creation of the artistic and cultural hub can become a major turning point for our local artists. Madam Speaker, I also welcome the creation of the National Food Reserve Storage Facility. After witnessing the instability caused globally by conflicts and wars, particularly recently in the Middle East, it is clear that food security is no longer optional. Food insecurity can rapidly become a national vulnerability. Et cela démontre encore une fois qu'un gouvernement responsable doit être capable d'anticiper les crises futures. Comme on le dit souvent très bien, gouverner, c'est prévoir. Et je reste confiant que l'Alliance du changement reste très vigilante et anticipative dans ses processus de décision. Madam Speaker, I also warmly welcome the increase of the CEB feed-in tariff payable to households exporting electricity to the grid by 15%. The previous tariff of ₹4.20 per unit was honestly too low for many households investing in renewable energy systems. This increase now sends a more encouraging signal to citizens investing in solar energy and sustainability. This is already a very positive step in an inclusive energy transition. Another interesting measure announced by the Honorable Minister of Finance concerns the possibility for foreign graduates to remain in Mauritius and contribute to the national development through post-study work visas. This is a very pragmatic and intelligent strategy. Mauritius is currently facing labor shortages and skill gaps in several sectors. Allowing qualified graduates already trained locally to remain and contribute strengthens our labor force, reduces dependency pressures, limits unnecessary currency outflow, and contributes directly to the economic productivity. Madam Speaker, the anticipative approach adopted regarding medical training and healthcare workforce development goes in line with this proposal. The training of 26 plus 30 medical practitioners, 62 medical technologists, 154 specialized nurses demonstrates once again that government is trying to anticipate future healthcare needs that were, again, unfortunately not adequately addressed by our predecessors. As a medical doctor, one of the aspects of this budget that particularly caught my attention is the importance being given to healthcare. The planned recruitment of 2,220 workers in the healthcare sector demonstrates clearly how much this government wishes to invest in the health and well-being of our population. Again, bravo for this generous initiative. Et encore une fois, Madame la Présidente, gouverner, c'est prévoir. Madam Speaker, I also wish to sincerely congratulate the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance for the implementation of an interventional neuroradiology service for acute stroke and aneurysm management. This is an extremely important medical advancement for Mauritius. As a doctor myself, I have unfortunately witnessed Mauritian patients suffering severe complications and even death, latest being in my constituency in Baolu, because of delayed access to specialized treatment despite being offered treatment abroad in India. The development of such highly specialized services locally can save lives, time, cost, and finally the tremendous suffering for these families. Madam Speaker, I happily welcome the extension of the threshold exemption for first-time buyers concerning bare land, apartments and houses under registration duty provisions. Et je remercie particulièrement l'honorable Grand Argentier pour l'extension de ce bénéfice aux acheteurs des terrains agricoles. This measure opens again opportunities for new entrepreneurs, agricultural development, investment, broader economic participation, et nous sommes ici en train de démocratiser davantage l'accès aux opportunités économiques et à la propriété. And I am convinced that this measure will positively stimulate economic activity. I particularly welcome the introduction of the retirement savings bond, aimed at preserving the dignity and purchasing power of our elderly citizens in the context of, so rightly explained, the context of negative real interest rates. These measures will also encourage healthier and more stable income mechanisms for many elderly citizens. Cependant, je souhaiterais humblement suggérer que les bénéfices liés à ce mécanisme puissent être accessibles sur une base mensuelle plutôt qu'annuelle. Madam Speaker, I also strongly welcome the reintroduction of the National Initiative for Civic Education by the Honorable Prime Minister, the NICE program. This program can play an important role in preventing many young people from becoming prey to the scourges of drugs and delinquency. Civic education, values, discipline, and awareness remain essential tools in protecting our youth. Madam Speaker, I also wish that during the government comprehensive public asset upgrade program announced by the Honorable Prime Minister to modernize courts and other facilities, consideration be given to assessing the feasibility of relocating the District Court of Rivière-du-Remport back to the District of Rivière-du-Remport from the District of Pamplemousse. In fact, this matter has already been addressed to the Honorable Attorney General, and I hope that consideration will be given soon. This would greatly facilitate access to justice for many inhabitants of the region. Madam Speaker, as I pointed out previously during my intervention in this August Assembly on the NADEC, the National Agency for Drug Control Bill, regarding the difficulties faced by drug victims in accessing rehabilitation centers, I also wish to congratulate the Honorable Prime Minister for the decision to convert one wing of the old Flak Hospital into a rehabilitation center. This is a very meaningful and humane measure. Rehabilitation remains and must remain an essential pillar of any serious anti-drug strategy. While I'll support the overall philosophy and direction of this budget, there are nevertheless certain implementation aspects which, in my humble opinion, may still require further clarification and reconsideration. One such example concerns the proposal regarding yearly payments linked to motor vehicle registration plates, as stated by my fellow honorable members today. I must respectfully state that I fail to understand the rationale behind such a measure, and especially considering that many citizens acquired and retained specific registration numbers through what was historically understood as a one-off payment, often for sentimental or personal reasons. Je crois sincèrement que certaines mesures administratives doivent toujours être évaluées à la lumière des réalités et des perceptions de la population. Et si toutefois cette mesure devrait être maintenue, je souhaiterais humblement demander à l'honorable ministre du Transport que celle-ci s'applique uniquement aux nouvelles plaques d'immatriculation et non rétroactivement aux plaques déjà existantes. Before concluding, I also wish to sincerely thank the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance pour avoir démontré beaucoup d'humanité, de sensibilité et d'écoute envers les préoccupations exprimées par une grande partie de la population concernant certaines mesures proposées dans le cadre de la réforme des pensions. As the Honorable Prime Minister stated himself earlier today, after listening carefully to the options and concerns expressed by the population, it has been decided to freeze the proposed means testing mechanism linked to the stage age pension reform. This decision once again demonstrates that this government remains attentive to the plea of the population and capable of reassessing certain measures while genuine social concerns are expressed. Listening to the population is not weakness, it is responsible leadership. However, Madam Speaker, while recognizing the undeniable issue of long-term sustainability of our pension scheme, I also wish to humbly appeal that the technicians and authorities working on these reforms continue approaching this matter with compassion, humanity, and sensitivity towards the social realities faced daily by many Mauritians. For many citizens, pensions are not merely financial mechanisms. They represent dignity, reassurance, and social security after a lifetime of sacrifice and contributions to the country. And I remain confident that government will continue listening carefully to the concerns of the population while pursuing necessary reforms responsibly. Madam Speaker, this budget attempts something important: to rebuild responsibly while preparing Mauritius for the future. Ce budget essaie de concilier responsabilité économique, justice sociale et préparation de l'avenir. And for these reasons, Madam Speaker, I support this budget. Merci.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we have Honorable Apollon.
Madam Speaker, allow me to thank the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Junior Minister, the staff and the advisors for the presentation of this budget, and also, of course, for the suspension of the mean tests, which were very stressful for us. This budget is not merely a statement of revenues or expenditure. It is a statement of responsibility, courage, commitment to the future of our nation. From the last budget to the present exercise, many members of this Parliament, including myself, have faced numerous challenges in our constituency. Our citizens were anxious. Many expected immediate result. Many questioned the reform that were being implemented. As responsible members of this government, we engage with our mandates, listen to their concern, and explain the difficult reality that this government inherited. Faced to these realities, the government chose responsibility over popularity. The Honorable Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, understood that sustainable progress could not be built on illusion. He took the difficult but necessary path of restoring confidence, rebuilding credibility with international institutions, and putting our public finance back on a sound footing. This government had the courage to break away from practices that were no longer sustainable and to embrace prudent and responsible economic management. Difficult decision has to be taken, Madam Speaker. Measures were introduced to contain economic pressure. Fiscal discipline was strengthened. Public expenditure was rationalized. Reforms were initiated to restore economic stability and protect future generations from an unsustainable debt burden. Behind every percentage point lies a stronger economy, greater investor confidence, and a better future for our Mauritian family. As Winston Churchill once remarked, I quote, "The price of greatness is responsibility." This government has accepted that responsibility. Madam Speaker, economic recovery is not an overnight process. No nation emerged from deep structural challenge without sacrifice, patience, and perseverance. I quote, "Smooth seas do not make skilled sailors." The Mauritian people have always responded positively when they perceive fairness and sincerity in the action of their leaders. Today, once again, we are being called upon to place the national interest rather than the individual interest. All citizens should be able to make sacrifice for a better Mauritius. Talking about sacrifice, it is not merely the citizens who are being called upon to contribute. The Prime Minister has set up the tone from the very top. Members of the Parliament, only one duty-free during our mandate, pension not eligible after 2 mandates, but 65 years old as all citizens, and no previous government have had the courage to curb their own benefit. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. The emolument of President and Vice President of the Republic will become taxable. As we say, l'exemple vient d'en haut. Such measures reinforce the principle of accountability, transparency, and social justice. Now, I will elaborate on some subjects in this budget. Let us talk about sport. Madam Speaker, sports are becoming a must for our society. Ce n'est pas seulement pour garder la santé et la forme, mais pour l'épanouissement de nos jeunes. Le sport est devenu un atout pour le combat contre la drogue. Donc, je salue ce budget qui donne encore plus de considération pour le sport. Et je profite de l'occasion pour remercier le ministre du Sport et son junior ministre pour tous les efforts mis depuis les dernières élections. Le ministère doit maintenant assurer que le sport est accessible à tout le monde. Les infrastructures sportives ne doivent plus être à l'abandon et rendre le sport de plus en plus free of charge. Depuis notre arrivée au gouvernement, le ministère du Sport a rétabli plusieurs projets. Retour aux intercollèges, bravo. Des compétitions dans les petits villages retirés, tels que à nous transforme, nous l'endroit. Participation plus fréquente dans les compétitions internationales. Rénovation de tous les sites sportifs qui ont été abandonnés par l'ancien régime. Madame Speaker, un terrain de foot coûtera moins cher qu'un centre de réhabilitation. Un complexe sportif est moins cher que de faire face à des problèmes sociaux conséquents, tels que la santé, la drogue, abus sur l'alcool. Aujourd'hui, nous faisons face à ce fléau de drogue, surtout la drogue synthétique. Alors que les professionnels, les ONG, les experts travaillent dur pour la solution, telle que la dépénalisation du cannabis, on a vu la volonté de ce gouvernement de mettre sur pied des consultations nationales avant de faire des propositions sérieuses. Le sport peut apporter son soutien à ce problème, Madame Speaker. Surtout, on doit encourager tous les Mauriciens à aimer le sport. Avant, tu peux gagner battre quand parler arrête de faire sport. Aujourd'hui, bizarre fausse ban jeune pour le faire sport. Je fais un appel au ministre de rendre le sport plus professionnel, plus accessible, pour continuer à produire des futurs champions nationaux et internationaux. Bien sûr, Madame Speaker, étant un fils du pêcheur, je dois remercier le gouvernement pour tous les efforts pour redynamiser le secteur de pêche et investir dans le secteur bleu économique que je suis persuadé va aider la croissance et les pêcheurs de Maurice ont beaucoup de facilités telles que le Bad Weather Allowance, subsides sur les matériels, duty free sur les moteurs, allocation pour les étudiants qui font partie d'une famille de pêcheurs, Canot Scheme. Et là, je profite de l'occasion à mon collègue, Monsieur le ministre de la Pêche, je vais faire deux propositions pour ce secteur. Comme l'aquaculture est en train de développer ce qui est profitable pour notre économie, mais malheureusement, cela affecte le quotidien de nos pêcheurs artisanaux. Pourquoi pas demander aux compagnies de l'aquaculture de mettre en place un Consolidated Social Fund, environ 3% peut-être, de leur profit, comme un annual dividende pour les pêcheurs. Comme on sait, les activités aquaculture occupent des kilomètres de mer et aussi dérangent un peu l'écosystème marin. Les pêcheurs sont pénalisés. Madame la Présidente, pour conclure, I wish to address to the Mauritians, to all those who place their trust in this government in November 2024. I say, continue to believe in the direction we have chosen. The road of reform is not easy, but it is the road that leads to lasting prosperity. The difficulties that we face today will not be eternal. The sacrifice being made today are investment in stronger, resilient Mauritius. Where there is courage, honesty, hard job, everything will be possible. Chers collègues, troussons nos manches et mettons-nous au travail pour concrétiser les mesures du budget. Je vous remercie, Madame Speaker.
Est-ce qu'on est d'accord pour lever la séance pour 1 heure de temps? Très bien.